So welcome everyone and thank you for joining day 4 of Apex Hours for Students. Today we're going to be talking about an interesting aspect of playing around with your data in Salesforce, which is majorly around aggregating your Salesforce data and validating your inputs to the Salesforce platform. Um, we have another experienced speaker with us today, uh, and he's none other than Purushottam, right? So Purushottam, over to you. I'm going to mute myself, and you can start it off.
Okay, thank you, Jigar. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, guys. Welcome to all for the Apex for Student program. Today we are on episode 4, where we are going to learn about aggregating and validating your Salesforce data. So I am Purushottam. So let me tell you about myself. I'm Purushottam. I am a global community speaker. I have been a part of India Remain, Hyderabad Television's sessions, and currently I'm helping a Pune community for content and strategy as a content strategy leader for the sessions. You can find my Twitter handle here, Bhaigade. So anytime if you have any doubt, any questions, you can reach to me, and you can also see my LinkedIn URL. You can reach to me on any social channel. So this is the agenda for the today's session. Today we are going to see what are the formula fields in Salesforce, what are the roll-up summaries, what are the validations, and duplicate rules, and then we'll open the Q&A. Yeah, here are some housekeeping rules. As Chico rightly mentioned, mute your mic. Uh, Keep posting your question to the Zoom chat window. All our other speaker will help you to answer those, and definitely we are going to address those questions in the last 15 minutes. And yes, guys, no question is a silly question. So if you have any question, just put it in the chat window. Okay, so with this, we'll start with our session. So yeah, sorry. So very first thing, so introduction to formula fields. So we already know the Salesforce has ability to add your custom fields, right? So there is a one type. Today we are going to see what are the formula fields. So basically formulas are help to calculate the values automatically based on the other fields and the formula inputted. Okay, so it uses a field level security to hide the sensitive information. And the type of operators in formula fields, we can see that the math, logical, and the text. And of course, the functions supported by the formula fields are the date and time, the logical, math, text, summary, and some advanced like a regex and heat change. So without wasting time, let's
Purushottam, you want to just run the presentation in the presenter mode?
Okay. Yeah. Here we go.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for bringing this up. So let's start with the demo and create the first formula field. Okay. So let's go to our Salesforce window. Okay. Jigar, I hope you're able to see my Salesforce window as well, right?
Yes, I can.
Perfect, perfect. So what we're going to do, we are going to create one formula field on our account object, okay, and we'll see what are the steps to create the formula field. So very first step, you need to go to the setup. Okay, then you can see the tab as object manager. Go to the object manager. You can see all the available objects from your. So click on account. Okay. So on the left hand side, you can see there is an option called as field and the relationship, right? So click on this. So from here, you can create a new custom field. Okay. So now what we are going to do, we are going to check whether the URL is a valid or not. Okay. But how we are going to do this? So let me first show you the existing record. Okay. So there is a website field, okay, and there is an account side field. So we are going to compare these two fields and we are going to check whether these two fields are equal or not. Okay, this is a simple formula we are going to create. So very first thing, click on a new, okay. It will show you all the available options for your fields, and we are going to create a formula field. So we are going to select the formula as option. Click on the next. In a step 2, you are supposed to give the name of your field. So for example, I am saying here it's a valid URL. Okay, so there are two things. One is a field label and another is a field name. Field name is a field API name. Then there are a few options you can select, whether what type of return type you wanted to have. That it's a checkbox, currency, date time, number, percent, text, and time. So for our use case, we are going to select it as a checkbox. So click on a checkbox, click on the next. So here you can see the window for the entering your custom formula. In this, you can see there are the two sections. One is a simple formula and another is advanced formula. So simple formula, you can see all the available options here, which we wanted to use. Okay, we're going to use the advanced formula, which help you to insert the fields as well as the formula. So if you click on insert field, you can select all the available objects and fields which we can use in this formula. On the right hand side, you can see available functions. Okay, as I rightly mentioned in previous slide, the available functions are date, time, logical, math, text, and advanced. Okay, so let's go and create a formula for this. So we are going to select the logical condition as the if condition, where we are going to check if the website is equal to the account site, right? So if you select the if condition, you can see there is a help text which helps you to understand what this formula do. Okay, and here also the help section. If you click on help section, it will open the Salesforce standard help page. The if condition is divided into three sections. First is a logical condition which we wanted to test. Second, if the value is true, what we are supposed to return, and if the value is false, what we are supposed to return. That is the third. So in the first step, we are going to add a formula. First, the field. Okay, so which field we are going to check? Very first field, let's say the account. Okay, account site. So let's say I say insert, and I wanted to check whether this fields is equal with another field. So I'm going to use the insert operation as equal. Okay, then I'm going to use another field called as a website. So let's go to the account. Let's select the website. Click on insert. It will insert the field. Now, as we say, insert is a URL field. Okay, so here is the field. So if these two fields are equal, we are going to return either true, because we are using a checkbox field. So we're expecting a value either true or a false. If this is a false, we are going to as a false. Okay, then the next step you're supposed to do is check for the syntax. This button helps you to whether your syntax is correct or not. So let's click on this. Let's see. Yep, there is no error. You can go ahead. So very most important thing, guys, whenever you create a new field, always add the description. It helps anybody to understand what type of this field is. So here we can add the description as well. Okay, and then click on the next. Yep. And this screen will help you to establish a field level security. So here you can see the list of the profiles to which you wanted to set a visibility. Okay, for this section I am gonna have this for the system admin profile. Okay, here we go. I have selected the profile. Then again, in the next screen, you can see the page layout setup, on which page layout you wanted to add this field. For now, I'm going to select all the page layout. Okay, click on save. So we are done with the field. Now let's go ahead and check how the formula field works. So I'm going to copy this text. Okay. I'll put this page so that we can see the newly added field onto the page layout. Go to the detail. Yep. You can see it's a format field as a follows because account site is empty whether the website has some other value, right? So let's go ahead, change our account setting. I'm going to copy paste the same text over here, click on the save. Okay, you can see the checkbox is checked. This is a valid URL. This is how the field, this is how the formula field works. So it's calculate the value on a runtime. Okay. So there are key things to remember about the formula fields. So, so whenever you see the error, the display the whenever your formula returns the error. Okay. So make sure whenever you see the text as an error, that means there is some error in your formula. Sometimes you can see the too big as a text is output, but it means your output has over than 18 digits. Okay. So always remember whenever you are doing any mathematical calculation, let's consider as a division, and you're using any field in a division. So always make sure you're checking for the zero, divide by zero. So you can add the if function to determine this. For example, if the field is equal to zero, then simply return as a zero, else divide it using your function, right? So these are the key things we are supposed to remember whenever you are going to create the formula fields. Let's move to the next point, that is about the roll-up summary. So what is the roll-up summary? So roll-up summary has also behave like the formula fields, but this roll-up summary always works on a related records. So whenever we say the related records, Salesforce gives us a two type of relationship. One is a lookup relationship, another is a master data relationship. Roll-up summary fields always works with the master data relationship. And what type of a calculation supported by the roll-up summary fields are the count, sum. You can get the minimum value or you can get the maximum value. Okay. Let's we shift to the next demo. That is, let's go ahead and create a roll-up summary field. Okay. Let me switch back to my Salesforce instance. Again, for the creating a roll-up summary field, we are going to use the opportunity object. Okay. And we are going to create one roll-up summary field which is going to calculate a total sales price added by the product on each account in opportunity. Okay, for this let me show you the opportunity first. Okay, so here you can see there is a Salesforce opportunity. We have the related record, the product. So whenever we are going to add the value into the related list, it's supposed to calculate. And so for day pro, I'm going to delete the existing data and we are going to create the new data after creating the field. Okay, on a detail, we are going to create a field. Okay, the total amount. So we are going to follow the same step to create any new field. Go to object manager, right? If you don't find object here, go to the search box. You can see opportunity and opportunity product, right? So now we are going to create a field of the master. As I rightly mentioned that it works with the master data, and opportunity and opportunity data has a master data relationship. So we are going to create the field of the master. Okay. Yep. Same again, like go to the field and relationship field. Okay. Now to create a roll-up summary field, again, we need to click on the new and go ahead with the creating new field. Here also you are going to see the same screen where you have the several options, and the below the formula field which we had created in earlier step, you can see there is a roll-up summary field. Okay. Select the roll-up summary option, click on the next. Yeah, here you go. Here you are supposed to input the field label. So let's say the field label is a total amount. Okay, click on the next. Right here on step 3, you are defining your calculation. So here I am going to select as a child object as an opportunity product. If you have more than one object, you can see the list of the object in this drop down. So in this case, we only have the one object, so we are going to select the opportunity product as option. Then you can see the option as a count, sum, mean, and max. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select as a sum. Once you select the sum, the next immediate step you need to do which field you wanted to use for this calculation. Here we are going to use the sales price. Okay, click on the sales price. In a filter criteria, either you can put a specific criteria. Let's say if you have a specific criteria, if you wanted to calculate the field where the discount is greater than 10% only, so you can put the criteria. Or if you wanted to use for all the records, you can simply select the all records option. Then you are done with your calculation, defining your calculation. Click on the next. Go to them again. The field level security. So let's say for this calculation, I'm going to have it for the all the records or only for the system admin. Okay. As admin, I'm defining the access to which user want to see. Okay. And here again, you can see all the layouts, available layouts where you wanted to add this roll-up summary field. For now, I'm going to select all the page layout. Okay. I'm going to click on save to save this roll-up summary field. Boom. Now we have set up the roll-up summary field, and the next step we need to go and check how these roll-up summary fields actually work on our object. So we need to refresh this page in order to see total amount field onto the page layout. Here we go. On the details, you can see all the fields. Okay, here you can see the total amount as 0, empty. Now if you go to the related record, you can see all the options available and the product option is there. So we can go ahead and click on add product to add a product into this opportunity. So let's say I'm selecting this product, generate itself. Click on the next. Okay, here you can enter the quantity. Let's say I'm entering quantity as a 5. Sales price. Let's say select the date. So I'm selecting date as 8. Line description. Let's say. Okay. Click on save. So you can see this is added over here. Sales price. Now go back and see. You can see the roll-up summary field is get calculated here. So now let's see if we go add another product. Here we go. We added. The price is a 5,000 USD. The quantity as a 10. Let's say date 7. I'm keeping the line description as empty. I'm going to click on save. So the addition of these two line items is supposed to be reflected on master opportunity, right? So let's see detail. Here you go. So this is how the roll-up summary field works, right? So whenever you add the line items, the formulas get calculated and get reflected on your master data. So there are a few key things to remember whenever you works with the roll-up summary field. The fields, whenever you go for the roll-up summary field, if you select the sum as a roll-up type, the only number, currency, and percent field are available for the calculation. Where if you select the mean and the max, along with these three fields, the date and date time fields are also available for your calculation. Sometimes you cannot change the field type of the field that you reference in a roll-up summary field, right? So for example, if I'm referring some price field to the roll-up summary field, and tomorrow I wanted to change the field type from currency to number, that I cannot do. Okay, make sure that the filters for your roll-up summary doesn't encounter a formula field result as an error. This is very similar to the formula field which we used in a previous demo. Okay, So what happened when you delete the child record, right? The in current example we see that how we can go ahead and add the records, how it get reflected. But what happened when you delete the child record? It the roll-up summary field do not automatically calculate this. You need to select the option for some mass recalculation for the field option from the edit page of roll-up summary field. So I'm just going to show you this option, how to do this. So you need to go to the field and relationship. Okay, go to the total amount field which we had created. Here you can see the force mass recalculation this way. So always remember whenever you delete a child record, you need to select this option. Okay, you cannot use a long text area, multi-select links, and the description, and there are some fields in the roll-up summary. Very important thing to remember, after you have created the roll-up summary field of an object, you cannot convert object master detailed relationship into a lookup relationship, right? This is very important thing, guys, to remember. Roll-up summary fields are not available for the mapping lead fields converted leads. Okay. So with this roll-up summary, let's move to the next point, that is a validation rule. As in a name, the validation rule helps you to verify your data, whatever the data you enter into Salesforce. Okay, it helps user to enter the valid data into the system. Validation rule can contain the formula or the expression that evaluates the data. For example, I can put a validation rule, uh, allow only the system admin to enter this data or the edit this data, right? I can put a validation rule that whatever the amount I'm entering, it's supposed to be greater than 1,000. So these types of validation rule we can put. So the very next important thing in a validation rule, there is an error message. So what type of error message we wanted to display to the user? Okay, and the four important key points of the validation elements of the validation rules are formula, of course, what type of formula which we use to evaluate your data, the error message, the message which you wanted to show to the user, the location where you want to show the message, on the top of the page or at the field level, and the description of the validation rule. Of course, the description helps to the any user to identify what this validation rule do, right? So let's see the demo by creating a validation rule. Okay, so let me switch back to my Salesforce account. So here in a validation rule, we are going to create a validation rule on an account which will not allow user to enter any data without a website, right? So basically, I'm creating a website as a mandatory field whenever user enters the value. So same thing we are going to do for the validation rule. First, you need to go to the setup. From the setup, you can go to the object manager. Here you can see all the objects. Select the account because we are going to create the validation rule account. On the left hand side menu, you can see all the options. On the last option, you can see there is a validation rule, right? So you have to go and select the validation rule. Okay, so there is no validation activator. We can go click on a new. So here you are creating a validation rule for the account. Very first name, I'm putting a validation rule. Let's say website required. The name is website required. How to okay, you can see the same formula section where you can put the formula which is going to evaluate your data. So for here, as I rightly mentioned, we have the few formula category. We are going to select the logical. In logical, we have the certain options available. So let's say I'm going to select the is blank option. Click on insert. Now I have selected the formula as a is blank, but I need to select the field on which field this formula is supposed to evaluate. So let's go ahead, click on insert field. You can see all the options available here. Let's select the account. Okay, and I wanted to go for the website. Okay, so here I have select. So now this formula tells me whether this whether the website value is a blank or not. Check for the syntax. Okay, there is no error. And the next section you come to the error message. So here I can mention, you can say website is a required field. Required field is enter. Okay, then the next important thing, I'm supposed to select whether I wanted to show this message on the top of the page or at the field, right? So for this I'm going to select option as a field level. Okay, and now on which field I wanted to show this message, because our validation rule is executing onto the website. So I'm going to select the website as option, right? Click on the save. So here your validation rule has been set up. Okay, right? So now let's see the demo, how exactly the validation rule will help us. It's to restrict the user from entering the invalid data. So for this we are going to the account tab, right? So here I'm going to create a new account. Right, let's say how account name is Apexa. Okay, account number is ACC 100, account size, let's say, and I'm keeping the website as a blank and clicking on the save just to show you the error message. So click on the save. So you can see it shows the website is a required field. Please enter the valid data, right? So it's not allowing me to enter the invalid data. So here I will go http xr.com and click on the save. Here you go. So now this is how the validation rule helped me to enter a valid data into the system, right? So let's see what are the key things that I'm supposed to remember when I'm going to create a validation rule. Here are the key things to remember. Be careful and do not create a contradicting validation rule for the same field. Otherwise, users are not able to enter any data, right? For example, if in a validation rule, in first validation rule, I'm checking the value as amount is supposed to be greater than 1,000. Okay, and there is a second validation rule I have created and activated, which is saying the amount is supposed to be less than or equal to 1,000. Right? These are the two contradict things, and it will not allow to enter my data. So we have to make sure that we are not adding any contradict data. Okay, contradict validation rule. So whenever referring to a related field in a validation formula, make sure those objects are deployed. Okay, if objects are not deployed, it will not allow you to create a validation rule. Keep in mind that when a validation rule contains a begin or contains formula, it processes a blank field as valid. Okay, assign a corresponding number to validation rule and their error message. This allows you to identify the source of error. So for example, if you have a uh, multiple validation rule activated and you wanted to give the numbers, so you can use the numbers in your error message so that it will help users also to jump onto the correct field. Poorly designed validation rule can prevent a user from saving a valid data, right? So make sure you thoroughly test your validation rule in your sandbox before you deploying it to production and activate it. So we have seen the validation rule. Now let's move and see the next topic is about the duplicate rules. So validation rules are help us to validate our data. Similarly, duplicate rules help us to do not enter a view or create a duplicate record, right? So it gives you ability to take a user defined action, what to do if the duplicate records are being created, or it will help you to block user from creating a duplicate record. Matching rule and duplicate rule works together to ensure your org data is duplicate free. Okay, so before going for the duplicate rule, you need to create the matching rule. Okay, each standard duplicate rule includes a corresponding standard matching rule that determines how the record is identified as a duplicate, right? There are some Salesforce by default gives some standard duplicate rules, and those are available on your account, person account, contact, and lead objects. So let's see about the demo how we are going to create a matching rule and a duplicate rule to prevent a duplicate data to get entered into the system, right? Let me go back to my system. Okay, here you go. So again, we are going to use the account object for creating a duplicate rule. So for that, again, I'm going for the setter. Go to the home section now. This time we are not going for document. Here, in a quick find, you can find duplicate rule, right? So before going for the duplicate rule, we need to create a matching rule. Click on a matching rule. Okay, right. Here you can see the button as a new matching rule. So I click on a new. So now I need to select on which object I wanted to create a matching rule, right? So go ahead and select the account object. Click on the next. Okay. And select the rule name. Let's say the rule name is a duplicate account. Okay. Description. Correct. Okay. Then the matching criteria. This will help me to identify, let's say I'm selecting account name. I don't want to enter account name, the similar account name into the system, right? So I select the option, the field as account name. The matching method is the exact match or the formula. So for this section, we are going to use as the exact. Okay, match a blank field as well. So if you select this section, it's going to match your records with the blank field as well. Okay, now so let's click on the save. Yeah, so now you have created the matching rule, but the matching rule is not yet activated, right? So go ahead, click on activate button. By clicking this, you can see the matching rule is activated. It will send you the notification. Click on OK. Yep, you can see the rule status is active, right? Now go ahead and create a duplicate rule. So click on duplicate rule. Similarly, if you click on the new rule, you can select all the available objects. So go ahead, select account as an object, right? Here, so I'm going to put the same name as a duplicate account. Enforce the sharing rule. Make sure here when you select the enforce as a sharing rule, this is specifically for the record level security. Don't buy. You can select the option as a bypass sharing rules. But for this example, I'm going to use the enforce the sharing rule option. Okay, then you can come to the section as action. This will help you to what action that your system wanted to take. Okay, so if you go to the drop down, you can select either allow or the block. Okay, so I'm going to select as a block because I don't want it to have the duplicate record to be get created. Same for the edit option as well, right? Alert text. Yes. So here I'm going to show all the matching available records and asking the user to select the one of these records, right? Compare with which object? Account, right? Then you are supposed to select the matching rules. So here you can see all the available matching rules. From this, we are going to select the duplicate account matching rule, which we have created in the previous step. Okay. So if you click on add rule, you can add the another rule. You can remove this rule. Right. If you wanted to put any specific condition, the specific record that you wanted to have, you can put the condition, or you can click as a save to proceed. So your rule has been created, but it is not yet activated. So make sure before testing you have activated this rule. So click on activate button, wait for some time, boom, your rule has been activated. So let's go ahead and see if it allows me to create a duplicate record. So here's our account Apex as we have created, right? It's already present in system. So we are going to create another account with the same name. Click on a new, right? So here I'm going to put account name as Apex R. Account number is ACC 100. Right. I'm going to put other flags as a blank. Click on save. Here you can see this record looks like a duplicate. View the duplicate records. When you click on duplicates, you can see the existing records, and you click on existing record, right? And if you wanted to go ahead and update any field of this record, you can go ahead and update the field. So by this way, you can restrict the user from creating a duplicate record or editing any existing record. Similarly, there are the key things we need to remember whenever we work with the duplicate rules. Let's see what are those fields. You can use up to 5 active duplicate rules per object, right? So you saw that I click on add rule button, it helps you to add the multiple rules, right? So you can have the 5 active duplicate rules per object. If the first duplicate rule find the match for the particular record, subsequent duplicate rules skip that record, right? Condition under which duplicate rule don't run. So records are created using a quick create or the community self-registration. Leads are converted to account or account tag. Records are restored with the undelete button. Records are added using a lightning sync, and records are manually merged. So on these conditions, duplicate rules don't run. Conditions under which duplicate rules setting are overridden. If the record are added using a data import tool, right? So Salesforce having a data import tool which helps you to import the data from the external system to the Salesforce. Records are added or edited using a Salesforce API. So as you know, Salesforce is a platform which allows you to work with the platform using an API. If you are added or edited the record using a Salesforce API, duplicate settings are overridden in this case. A personal account is converted to a business account, and the newly created business account matches the existing account. So, yeah. The translation workbench doesn't support the customizable alert text in a duplicate rule. So what is the translation workbench? So basically translation workbench allows you to use international localization to translate your message to any locale of the user, but duplicate rule doesn't support in this alert text. So alert text always, whatever the message you put in alert text is always going to display onto the page. So, so we have seen how to create a formula field. We have seen how to create a validation rule. We have seen how to create a duplicate rules, right? So in each session, so we are working on a mini project, right? In each session, we are going to cover a particular part of the mini project. So for this particular session, from the mini project, we are going to create some roll-up summary field to automatically calculate the amount due for the invoice base, okay, and based on the associated line items, of course. And then second part we are going to do is to create a validation rules such that the only system admin should be permitted to update the paid invoice, right? So for this main project, we already created some objects in the system, invoice and invoice line item. We're going to use this object for this main project. So let me show you how we are going ahead and create a roll-up summary field for calculating amount due, right? So let me switch back to Salesforce instance. So as I already mentioned, we need to go to the setup, click on object, right? So now, as per the problem statement, we are going to create the roll-up summary field onto the invoice. Okay, for this I have, okay, so let me show you. So for this, to calculate the amount due, we are going to use a couple of fields available there. So very first thing, the total amount. This roll-up field we are going to create, which is the sum of all the invoice line item, right? We are going to use the amount paid custom currency field, and then we are going to create a formula field which is going to get the difference from the total amount and the paid amount, right? So let's go ahead and create these fields onto the invoice object. So here is the invoice object. Okay, so let's, here's the object manager. Let's go to the invoice, select the invoice. Okay, we are going to select the option as a field relationship, right? Let's see, we have the amount paid field already present in the, and now we need to create the two fields. So very first field we are going to create is a roll-up summary field. Click on a new. It will help us to create a roll-up summary field. Select the roll-up summary. Click on the next option. So let's say the total amount. Okay. Click on the next. Yep. Here I'm going to select what is the child object which I'm going to use. So I'm going to use the invoice line item, right? Then I wanted to display the sum, total is sum, right? So I'm going to click this sum option, and which field I'm supposed to use. So I'm going to use the cost price as a field for this calculation. Okay, select the cost price. Yes, the option is filter criteria for all the records. Click on the next. So let's say I wanted to make it visible for all the records. Okay, and click on the next. So all the profiles has been selected. The layout, the invoice layout is available. I'm going to select the invoice class and click on save, so that this field is get added to the invoice record. So now we have created, so we have created a total amount roll-up field. The amount paid field is already available, and now we are going to create the new field, that is amount due. This is a formula field, right? So same steps again. Click on a new. Okay, but this time you're going to select the formula field. Click on the next. Put amount due, right? And what return type you want to select? It's a currency, correct? And decimal option is a 2. Click on the next. Right, you are at the advanced formula section. Click on the insert field. Here you can see all the available fields, okay, from the invoice object. So let's go and select the total field, total amount, insert, select the operator as a subtract, then select the another field, amount paid. So that is the difference between the total amount and the amount paid is amount due, right? Don't forget to check syntax. Yeah, there is no error. Description. Right. Click on the next. Visibility. Okay, for all the users, all the profiles. Click on the next. add this field to the invoice page layout, click on the save. Great. So now we have created all the fields. Now let's go to invoice object. So let's say we have the invoice. So we are going to use the existing invoice. So you can see the total amount is 0. Status I'm going to change to open. Click on save. The record is saved. Now I need to go ahead and add the invoice line item. How can I do? I'm going to the related list. Click on a new. And one. Okay. Cost price, let's say 100. Quantity as a 1. Right. Click on a save to save this invoice line item. Right. Let's go to the detail and see the total amount. So reflected amount paid is 187. Let's change this to 500. Yep. So you need to reload this record before you editing this, right? So let's go and refresh this page. Yeah, here we go. I'm gonna do amount as $500. Click on save. So you can see the total amount is 100, right? And the amount paid is a 500. So amount due is a 400. And you can see the colors. So let's say if I change this value to the 50. Okay, and click on save. Right? Because it was a negative value, that's why it's showing you the bracket. It won't show you the correct value. So if you see the total amount is a 100, and if I use the paid amount as a 50, you can see the due amount is a 50, right? So let's go to the next step from the mini project to create a validation rule that will only allow to the system admin should permitted to update the paid invoice. Okay, so let me change the status of, we are going to use the same record for this validation, right? So I just change the value of the paid, and now we'll go ahead and create a validation rule for this. So similarly we'll go to the object manager, right? Here again we go for the invoice, right? The last option, validation rule. Okay, click on a new to add the new validation rule. So let's say if I select the option as a paid invoice object, okay, I activated this validation rule. Okay, and now I need to put the formula which helped me to enter the valid value, right? So what is our problem statement? So create a validation rule such that only system admin should permitted the paid invoice. So here there are the two things we are checking. First is the status of the invoice is supposed to be paid, and the second, the profile is supposed to be system admin. So for this, again, we are going to use some formula. So very first formula I'm going to use is the if. Okay. So the better visibility, I'm going to add this to the multiple line so that it will be readable. Okay. Right. As I mentioned, we are checking this option for the two fields. So I need an AND over there, AND function. So let's see the AND function, right? AND function is another logical function which helps you to check all the logical conditions. So here we need to check the two logical conditions, right? So very first thing, invoice status is supposed to be paid. So select the object as the invoice, the status, but as this is a pick list value, let's select the option as a text, okay, which help you to convert the value to the text. Okay, okay, I'm going to here and the operator as. Then again, after converting this value, as a best practice, I'm going to convert this value to the lowercase. So let's go to there is a lowercase function, and the output of the text function is supposed to be input to the lower function. So instead of text, I'm going to add as a text status. So now the value from the text field is getting converted to the lowercase. The equal to symbol, you can either write it or you can select the equal, right? Then what the value you are checking for? So paid, right? The comma to add the next condition, right? Now go ahead and select the profile for which you want to convert. So as we rightly mentioned, there are the few other fields are available. So we are going to select the profile and name of the profile is equal to, so for this I already created. Okay, so just to save our time, I have used Notepad here, already set up the things for this demo. Okay, so now we have checked the status as a paid and the profile as a system admin. So what we supposed to return from here? So again, Mila, next, mouse, right? True. So this is how our if condition is going to evaluate, and it is going to help us only restrict this edit for the system admin. So check for the syntax. Okay, there is no error. Okay, I wanted to add the error message only. Invoice on the top of the page. This time I'm going to show this much on top of the page. Click on save. So our validation rule is, we have created the validation rule and we activated it, right? So for this, I have created another user. This is the standard user, okay? And I'm going to use this user to edit the paid invoice record. So I have logged into this user who is a standard system, is not a system admin, is a standard user. So there is the invoice item. Okay, the status of the invoice is a paid, right? The amount is 600. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change this amount to 800, right? Okay, click on save. Here you go. Here you can see only the system admin is allowed to edit the paid invoices, right? This is how you can include your validation rule to restrict any particular validation for the profile only, and you can restrict the valid to enter the valid data on a profile basis as well, right? So I guess we are done with the mini project as well. Here are some related links I have mentioned into the section. So there's a formula and validation module which you can go ahead and try out, and there is a duplicate management model, so you can log into Trailer and try out this model by yourself. Also, I have added some useful resources. The roll-up summary field, the links are with this text. So once you receive this PPT, you can go ahead and click on this link. Uh, you can see the validation rule. There is some beautiful block that is the 6 helpful duplicate rules you need to activate right now. Then the tips for the building the formulas and the formula cheat sheet, right? And now I'm open for the questions. If you have any questions, or Jigar, if you find out some questions from the chat, just let's address those questions.
Sure, Purushottam. Thank you for that wonderful session. We definitely have a lot of questions. I think people are really excited to learn formula and roll-up summary fields.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the first questions that I'd start with, and this kind of comes up and pops up every session, is where can I get access to the recordings of the previous sessions? Answer to that is if you go to YouTube, Purushottam, if you can just open up the browser and go to the Apex R's YouTube channel. Perhaps it'll be easier for people to understand where do they access all the recordings of the sessions. So you can go to YouTube and search for Apex Hours on YouTube, right? And there's the first thing that pops up. So once you select the channel, you will see all the recordings that have been uploaded for for all these sessions that we are having. At this point in time, we have the episode 1 and episode 2. So episode 1 talks about introduction to Salesforce, and episode 2 is more about modeling your Salesforce data. So those are already available. You can subscribe to the bell icon on this particular channel, right, or the subscribe button. That
Sorry.
so Purushottam is already subscribed. That's the reason why
Yeah.
you see it grayed out. But if he wouldn't have subscribed, you would see this button as activated right now. All right. Yeah. And that's where you can go and subscribe. So every time a new video is added to this channel, you'll get a notification, and you really need not keep a track every time of when a new video is going to be added. So that's the first question that we can answer for you. The second is, Purushottam, the next question is, let's say if we create a roll-up summary field and we figure out that it's incorrect, right? So
Mhm.
question is it possible to edit that? And if yes, how can that be done? If you can show that to us.
Okay, so yeah, so best practice. So very first thing I would like to suggest, whenever we are creating any field, so always do your playground on your sandboxes first, right? Test everything on your sandboxes and then deploy to your production. Though if you come to know that these fields are already deployed to production and there is error and we wanted to change the things, so we are going to follow the same thing. So first we are going to select the object manager where we have created a roll-up summary field. So let's say invoice uh, opportunity, let's say, right? So on the left hand side, you can see all the available option, right? Okay. Go to the field and relationship option. Again, which roll-up summary field you wanted to create. So we had created the total amount, right? Click on this. There is edit option, right? And here you can, if you wanted to use a different value for the aggregate, so let's say the total price, you can select the total price. You wanted to have the sum, you can select the sum and click on save and it's done. So this is the way you can update your existing roll-up summary field. Is that answer to your question?
Yeah, I thank you for that, Purushottam. The next question is, I know you covered this, but we can quickly revisit because I think there were a lot of questions around roll-up summaries. So are there any specific limitations or considerations that one needs to account for when you're using count and roll-up summary fields?
Okay. So, so for that, I would like to open my slide for the things to remember. Additional roll-up summary, right? So we the very important thing we need to check whenever we are using any formula in a roll summary field, it should not encounter error. So for the count, if the value is a null, so we should always that default this value with the zero, so that it will eliminate from your calculation. So that's something we can do.
Awesome. The next question is, are there any tips that you would like to share with our audience on, about on how to go about troubleshooting a formula field error? So, are there any specific tricks that or tips that you would like to share here?
Okay, okay. So these also. So yes, so troubleshoot the error. So as I rightly mentioned that there are the two major things, or the generally error occurs when we work with the formula field. So one is hash too big, right? So many times you see the text as a hash too big. So don't get a panic. So it means the whatever the formula you have inputted, due to that, the output of that formula is over 18 digit, right? So if there is a number which is too big and actually going beyond the 18 digits, so that time you're going to see the value as a too big. So what you can do, you can trim your number, right? You can use the formula from the formula, and you can only use the 18 character or the 10 characters of the number. And also the again very common things we generally do with the roll-up summary, that uh, if you're using any field in a division, so always make sure you don't encounter the error, because if you divide by zero, it will give the divide by zero error, right? So make sure you put the if condition, you actually validate that field before actually using that field in the calculation. Just like here I have on the screen, you can see the field is equal to zero, then you return the value as a zero, else you're going to use that field for your calculation.
Yep, and to add to what Purushottam just said, a couple of things that we've been using as a part of our implementations is one, when you have a very first of all, when you're troubleshooting a formula field, you don't have the liberty of line numbers because you don't really have a stack trace. So unfortunately, you will not get error messages that say a null pointer exception at line number 32. That's not going to happen. So but the error messages are pretty user friendly, right? So that is one of the things which helps you troubleshoot. The second thing is, if you got a really large formula, okay, if you start writing formulas, complicated formulas, and if you see there is an error, try to remove the or reduce or remove pieces of the formula statement by statement. That is one way you can troubleshoot and really zero down on the area or the place which helps you troubleshoot a formula. Another thing that also helps is there's something called as debug logs. I'm not going to talk about debug logs because we already have a session planned around how to troubleshoot errors on Salesforce. So I'm just going to leave you with a little bit of curiosity around that. But yes, there is another something called as debug logs, which helps you evaluate and see what your actual formula is evaluating to with us when it is running in conjunction with the values of a specific record. So those are some of the techniques that you can embrace to ensure your formula fields are working as desired.
Yes, thank you, John,
uh,
for adding this.
Yep, no problem, man. The next thing we have is a question which says that we have only count, sum, min, and max. Why don't we have an average in roll-up summary fields? So, Purushottam, you want to take a shot at it?
Yeah, let me jump back to my Salesforce. Okay, so field, let's see. Yeah, So we are talking about this, right? The count, sum, mean, and max, right? Why there is a not an average option, correct?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah. So this is something. These features provided something by the platform. So currently the platform is having the sum, mean, max as option, but already the people. So there on a Salesforce there is an idea forum where already people have put the idea that we should have the average as a formula in a roll-up type. The Salesforce team definitely looking at these options, and in near future, it's a safe harbor, guys. By the way, they maybe add this average feature into the rollup type, but this is by design from the Salesforce platform. The something is not possible with this. Definitely, we can, if you though you wanted to achieve this, you can have the customization. You can customize this with the Apex or the process builder, and you can achieve this. But as a part of the standard rollup summary, only these options are available.
All right, and the next question is about, can validation rules be overridden by Apex? So is the same thing applicable to formula as well as roll-up summary fields? So basically, question is, can formula fields, validation rules, or roll-up summary fields be overridden by Apex?
No. So just to answer that question, so formula fields are executed on the fly, right? So only thing is getting overridden, as I rightly mentioned in my slide, it's the just a second, let me go back to the site. Okay, only the duplicate rules. So only duplicate rules when you use the APIs, that time only these settings are getting overridden. But for the validation rules and other things, it won't. Would you like
So
to add
I
anything to this, Jigan?
Yeah, I think there are two aspects to when you say overriding, right? The way I interpret is it could either be a change in a validation rule or a validation rule firing because some Apex program resulted in some kind of data change. Okay, so if that's the case, and that's purely because you performed some DML operation, if that's the case, yes, validation rules will fire while you perform a DML operation using Apex, but that's more of a change in data. It doesn't really change the blueprint of the validation rule, right? For example, if you had specified in a validation rule saying that a certain profile, let's say like a system administrator, is only allowed to modify certain fields, and if you really want to change that, so if you want to do that with Apex, you can do that. There is something called as a metadata API, which is an absolutely advanced topic, right? And that's something which helps you modify the metadata programmatically. Okay, so there are two different things. If it's data, yes, of course, these things will be influenced by the changes in data, because all of these, formula or roll-up summaries or validation rules tie into particular fields or S object records, right? But if it's the structure of these that you want to change, you can either do it manually through the interface, or you can use metadata API to do that. All right. I hope that answers the question. And last but not the least, we've got one question which talks about global variables. So people are really inquisitive about what are global variables.
Yes. So let me go back to the formula, which helps everyone to understand what are the global variables. So if I go, sorry, let's go to the formula field. Okay. Let's see. So in a formula, you see that there are the two options available: the simple formula and the advanced formula, right? So when you click onto the insert field, so there are the global variables available in this option, which are prefixed by the dollar, right? So dollar organization, dollar API, dollar profile, this dollar system. or a user. This is something we can use in your formula, which we already use in one of our mini project, right? So here you can select any object, and you can select any property of that object and use it into your formula.
And just to add to what Purushottam said, basically global variables are ready to use recipes, right? So which give you some details around the platform, which you can use either in your formula fields, or other places. But so, for example, let's take an example. You wanted to find out who the currently logged in user is, right? So in that case, if I'm using $user, okay, that is going to give me the currently logged in user of for the user account which is accessing or running that particular, through whose whichever account that particular formula field is being run, right? Or I want to know what is the profile of the currently logged in user, right? So all these things are readily available, and these global variables provide you the ready to use recipes to do that. You don't really have to write any piece of code or any complicated stuff. Just use the $variable and they can be accessible with ease. Okay. So that's about global variables. I think those were the last set of question. That was the last set of question that we had for today. So thank you everyone for all this interesting questions and also being so patient throughout the session. Purushottam, again, thank you for a wonderful session. Before we log out, I'd just like to talk about registering for the next session. I know Amit Singh has already shared the link for our session tomorrow, but if for people who don't really know, you will need to register for each session separately. So for tomorrow's session, please go to apexhours.com and navigate to day 5, which will be, can you go to the curriculum section? Okay. So that'd be day 5, which is talking about automating business processes with Salesforce and part 1. So if you click the link, there should be a registration link here, which says register here for episode 5. Okay. The moment you click, you'll be taken to an interface and you can go out and make sure you select the appropriate date. There's a drop down there. So choose August 6th, right? Choose the appropriate date, put in your details, and you should get a confirmation email to join the session. Please don't forget to do that. Thank you once again. And stay hungry, stay foolish, and keep learning. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, that is 7 p.m. IST, with another interesting session about how you can automate business processes on the Salesforce platform with declarative tools. Thank you so much. Stay
Thank you,
safe
everyone.
and good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. If you have any further question, please reach out to us on our Twitter handle. We will happy to help you there as well.